Here are my final power rankings for the NBA season. We got 18 teams. 12 have been eliminated. Miami, they're going to be the 18th team, even though I do think they're better than the Hawks. I don't know. I just feel like the Hawks are going to win that game. Miami has been suspect all year. Tyler Hero, Bam, got to carry them in that game. And then if they match up against the Cavs, it's quiet. I don't think either team will beat the Cavs. And that brings me to the second team, the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, they're cool, I guess. Trae Young, most underrated player in the league, if you ask me. He's very underrated. He's doing his thing out there in Atlanta, but when it comes down to it, not a very good team. Zachary Resacher, that's their second best player right now. Not a good sign at all for a rookie. That's not great at creating his own shot. Karis LeVert's sneaky, but yeah, the Hawks, they're going to have to do a lot and learn how to play defense in order to beat Miami. Or else Tyler Hero's going to torch him, Bam's going to kill him. Either way, these two teams are the worst teams in the league right now that are still playing. Doesn't matter how you rank them. Dallas, I got the Mavericks at 16 on my power rankings. Anthony Davis was playing like a monster when he's been playing, but when it comes down to it, Dallas does not have the guard play. They're just not good enough to win a playoff series. They're not going to beat the Thunder, even though they've been the best team against the Thunder in the NBA over the past two seasons. Very different team, though. You don't have Luka. I mean, even without Luka, they've been good against them, but the playoffs is a very different story. And no Kyrie, no Luka, and it's Anthony Davis with a lot of suspect guards that will be bothered by the pressure of OKC's defense. That's going to be an interesting thing. But overall, looking at the power ranking standpoint, Mavericks aren't a very good team. And yeah, they're just the 16th best team remaining. And it sucks to say, since they do have potential to be higher. The Orlando Magic come in at 15. The Orlando Magic, they can't score the basketball to save their lives. They can defend the hell out of the basketball, though. And I think that's very telling. They got a decent chance against Boston. If you ask me, I'd say no, since I think Boston is just better defensively and offensively. And Orlando's still pretty hurt and banged up. But, Orlando could give them a run for their money. But when I look at the Magic and the power rankings aspect, you can't score the ball at all. That's going to hinder you when we look at the total output of the team. And I don't think they're a very good team. If I were to match them up against other teams not named Boston, I would still take 14 other teams over them in a series. So, yeah, that's why they're at 15. Memphis Grizzlies are the 14th best team, in my opinion. I'm not entertained by the Grizzlies. I don't think their defense is good enough to play competent basketball. I don't know if they're going to beat the Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to say that right now. And if they make it to the Thunder, they're not beating the Thunder. Their defense is horrible. They have two shot blockers, supposedly, but they don't block enough shots, if you ask me. And they don't provide any type of presence that really scares you. So what exactly is there to love about the Grizzlies defense? Since their best perimeter defender, he's not playing. He's hurt, unfortunately. Scary injury. Wish Jalen Wells all the best. But you look at it that way. Hold up, is my microphone? My camera might be falling. Sorry about that. Jalen Wells, he's not playing. Memphis Grizzlies are very weak on the perimeter defensively, and they're very weak on the interior defensively. And they do foul a lot, causing a lot of their players to not play enough. So I look at the Grizzlies. I'm very uninterested in them. They also have the coaching turmoil. You're going to see this trend. If a team can't defend or can't score, I'm much lower on them in a playoff setting because you need to do both in order to succeed. And that brings me to the Pistons. I think the Pistons are good on both ends. I just don't know how well they're going to be able to play against teams in a 7-game series because Pistons haven't been there before. These power rankings are solely based on how I look at them and how I look at the team top to bottom, and I can look at the history of the team. There's no history of the Pistons in the playoffs right now. This Pistons team is all brand new. Dennis Schroeder's like the only person, Malik Beasley too, and Tobias Harris. Okay, if we're going track records and Tobias Harris, the Pistons are cooked. But you look at the Pistons, they got veteran help around Cade, but I look at them, I don't know what to expect from them in a playoff setting. They had an amazing regular season. JB Bickerstaff, coach of the year. Cade Cunningham, one of the best young guards. Can make an argument for him to be first team. I would say second or third realistically, but this team's very good and they're going to get better. However, their best defenders struggle mightily offensively. Asar Thompson and Ron Holland, those are two great perimeter defenders. You can't play them on the offensive end. They're already inconsistent enough as a team offensively outside of Cade to where it is worrisome. Malik Beasley doesn't have the track record of being hot in the playoffs like he's been hot all year. I do think that'll change this year. Tobias Harris in the playoffs, suspect. Dennis Schroeder in the playoffs, you don't know what you're going to get from him. And you compare the Pistons to other teams in a 7-game series, they need to win 4 out of 7. And I just don't know how many teams they could do it. Any team below them, I think they could do it. But above them, I really do question their ability to do so. And that's why they come to us at 13. Shockingly, I know this is going to get a lot of hate, but I have the Denver Nuggets at 12 because listen, Denver has a very big problem defensively. They have 3 cones in their starting 5, and those 3 cones are their best offensive players. That just screams a recipe for disaster, if you ask me. All right. You can spin it however you'd like. You can't defend. You're not going to get stops against good teams. And the West is full of good teams. And all the Eastern Conference teams that are still haven't been talked about, they're somewhat competent teams. And we're looking at it from power rankings, which combines the entire conferences. But the Denver Nuggets can't defend, and they struggle enough offensively because they don't have the 3-point shooters that are very consistent around Jokic that it's worrisome on both ends of the floor. If it weren't for Jokic, obviously, well, if it weren't for a lot of teams' best players, they'd still be. Actually, if it weren't for every team's best player, they'd be bad. But with Jokic, you don't have the floor spacing. You don't have the offense around him to where if he doesn't score every point and produce every point, the team's not going to score. But he's also a problem defensively. I think he's going to get exploited with the pick and rolls, especially with Zubac, James Harden, pick and roll. That, if you want to know about that, just go watch my podcast, which will be at the end of this video. But there's just so much to not like about Denver if I'm being honest, because anyone that can play defense on the team can't play offense. Anyone that can play offense on the team can't play defense. There are no two-way players on this team, and because of that, I don't take them serious. I don't think they're going to beat the Clippers. I don't think they would beat the Rockets. I don't think they'd beat the Warriors. I don't think they'd beat the Thunder. I don't think they'd beat the Lakers. Minnesota, well, Minnesota's had their number. And speaking of Minnesota, they're coming up next at 11. And just real quick, Denver, I don't have any confidence in this team to do anything. I'm really so uninterested in them. I don't care they won 2 years ago. I don't care they have the best player in the NBA. This team is not good. They have too much turmoil. And ultimately, they're just not better than the 11 teams I have ahead of them. And that's why they're at 12. Minnesota, however, they have been the most inconsistent team that's been good and they've been really good and really bad this year. They've had amazing stretches. They've had horrible stretches. It doesn't make sense how inconsistent they've been. But when I look at it, Minnesota has a good foundation for a team. They have enough shooting to where they could win a series, but they're matched up against the Lakers. So that's not a good matchup for them at all, especially knowing that their defensive anchor is virtually unplayable in the series because Rudy Gobert is not going to be able to stay in front of Luka, LeBron, or Austin Reeves in a pick and roll setting. So that's going to be exploited. But I look at the Minnesota Timberwolves comparably to other teams. They're very good defensively. They're a very good defensive team, sorry. And when it comes down to it, I value defense, and this defense is good enough to a point that if they can figure out offensively how to play basketball, they're a scary team in the West, and they could make a conference finals run. But they got a horrible draw in the bracket, so I don't think that's as likely as it could have been. But you know what, Minnesota, I think you're the 11th best team remaining, and that's not a bad thing at all, especially considering how bad you were at certain points of the season and how one-dimensional your team is, because outside of Anthony Edwards, there's not very much to be confident about in this team. But yeah, I got the Timberwolves at 11. I think they would beat the Nuggets. They beat the Pistons. They beat Grizzlies, Magic, Mavericks, Hawks, Heat. There's a few teams above them that I had to, like these next 3 teams, it fluctuates for me, since I think the top 7 is really my top 7 and the only 7 that can actually win the title. But coming in at 10, right above Minnesota, I would say this is a 7-game series if Houston and Minnesota were to meet, since both teams they they're both good defensive teams, and I think Minnesota's way better offensively, even though they're suspect at times. So I would lean Minnesota here, but in the interest of showing respect to Houston's season, I'm going to put them at 10. Since the Houston Rockets, I feel like I'm underrating them by picking the Warriors over them in this series, and I'm just underrating them because of how bad their offense is. Their offense is really bad, but they have enough athleticism and they generate enough second chance points to a point where, listen, Houston can beat the Warriors. They're very capable of beating the Warriors. Amen Thompson and all the defensive players they got, they're very capable defenders, and they can match up with anyone in the league. Their defense is very switchable. They have great defensive schemes with coming from Ime Udoka. Their offense is the only question mark. And if Jalen Green shows up and shoots the ball well, Fred VanVleet shoots the ball well and efficiently, Alperen Sengun is the player we know he can be, and everyone else can knock down timely shots, this Houston Rockets team is scary, and they could make a Western Conference Finals push. Same case with Minnesota. These two teams, they can make conference finals pushes, and it's not ridiculous to say. It's just they got horrible draws. Now, they could still do it regardless because they're that good of teams. I just I love everything about the Rockets except for their offense. If it weren't if I weren't so harsh on teams for being bad on defense, I would have Houston higher, but because I'm so harsh on teams like the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, and even the Magic offensively, I don't think it's fair for me to put the Rockets higher because they are really bad offensively at times. I just think the Rockets generate enough points regardless of how bad they're playing offensively from second chance and from turnovers that it really does compensate for how bad they are on that end. And if one player gets hot like Jalen Green, their offense just flips a switch. So I have more confidence in the Rockets with their deficiency and their horrible weakness of a side of the floor. So I'm going to put them at 10. But yeah, the Rockets are a good team. I don't know why we're sleeping on them. And they could beat the Warriors. They could beat the Lakers or Timberwolves. And it's not ridiculous if that would happen. They're a 2 seed for a reason. But they're the 10th best team in the NBA right now. The New York Knicks, I want to put them lower. I really did. But when it comes down to it, you have to trust the 5 guys they have. And those 5 guys they have are just as good as any 5 on paper. Now, paper clearly didn't talk in the regular season, but with how bad they were, they still managed a 3 seed. Now, the Knicks are not going to lose to the Pistons, even though they could. I just don't think they will, because you look at the Knicks, they have experienced players. They're a very veteran-led team. They know how to play together when it comes down to it. And although they've had very big issues, very inconsistent, very bad chemistry issues all year, I think the Knicks can figure it out when the time comes to figure it out. So when it comes down to it, I think the Knicks are a lot better than we're advertising them to be. Now, do I think they're going to make it to the conference finals? Absolutely not. They're losing second round, if not first. But I look at Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns. This is a 5 that even if they can't defend, which they haven't been able to all year, they're going to generate enough points, especially if Mikal Bridges plays good basketball and OG Anunoby plays good basketball. If those two are shooting the 3 well, Pistons aren't going to have an answer for them, and any team would really struggle against them. I think the Celtics being right there in that corner of their bracket, that's just a tough draw for them. I mean, they had a chance against Cleveland, even though they didn't beat them in the regular season. I would say that the Knicks in a postseason setting they've proven more to me in a postseason setting than Cleveland has. So if they're on the other ends of the bracket, I think I would show them more respect and I'd be a little more confident in them to make a run, even though I don't think they're better than Cleveland. But you know, in the power rankings, I have to put them at 9, even though we saw a lot of bad things in the regular season. When it comes to playoff time, regular season doesn't mean anything. And they got a favorable draw as a 3 seed. And just when they were really bad and still managed a 3 seed. So how bad were they? And so if you take away all the games against the top 3 teams in the league, actually top 4, Boston, OKC, Cleveland, LA, even Indiana. Take away those 5 teams, the Knicks ran the rest of the league out of the gym, out of the arena, I should say. So I want to show a little more respect to the Knicks, but having them at 9 is right. Interestingly and controversially, I have Milwaukee at 8. Now, let me just say Minnesota, Houston, New York, and Milwaukee. All 4 of them are very switchable teams for me in this list because it could go either way. Like my feelings on these teams change every day. I picked the Bucks at 8 over those 3 other teams because Giannis is the best player. He's the second best player in the NBA, if you ask me. He's going to be on some generational run type motion. He is that good at basketball, and he's a two-way juggernaut. And the Bucks seemingly are hitting their stride. Now, Indiana's not a great matchup for them, as we all know. Damian Lillard could come back, but Kevin Porter Jr.'s emergence really is something we can't forget about because you got KPJ and Dame in a backcourt together playing really high-level basketball. Sure, the Milwaukee defense sucks. I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't, but they can block shots. They're a good shot blocking team. And when it comes down to it, if they're able to run teams off the 3-point line and can force them into the contested twos, they have enough shot blocking around the basket to where teams will struggle to finish. And it's just all the 3-point shooting teams are in the West. Are in the East. So that's the problem. If they were playing in the Western Conference, I think the Bucks would actually have very good odds to come out of there because every team in the West, they have 3-point shooting issues, not in the East, and that's the horrible matchup for Milwaukee. Milwaukee also can't stop guards. That's why having Tyrese Halliburton playing it. I hate my voice cracks. I'm sorry, y'all. That's why having Tyrese Halliburton playing for Indiana is really detrimental to Milwaukee because they're not going to be able to stop them. They can't stop any really good guards. Their defense on the perimeter is really weak, but in a playoff setting, I do think they can get stops when it comes down to it. I don't think anyone's going to stop the Bucks offense, especially now that they're kind of figuring everything out. Putting Giannis at the point, running everything through Giannis, and having Dame play second fiddle, even though Dame's been out for a while. Dame's not going to come back and be given the ball like he was. Damn. Sorry. College campus. What can I do? Dame's not going to come back and have the ball in his hand constantly. It's going to be Giannis, Giannis, Giannis. It's a playoff setting. It's Giannis's first playoffs in like 2 years now, fully healthy. Pray he stays healthy. I think the Bucks have a dominant enough force and are good enough around Giannis to a point that they are the 8th best team. They're not going to win a championship, but they are a very, very good team. And I think that I don't know. There's something about the Bucks. I think I'm predicting them to lose first round because, well, I got Indiana higher than them clearly, so I'm not confident they make it out. But I do think the Bucks team is very good, and they're better than all the teams below them. I think that there's only 7 teams that I think would really kick the living daylights out of Milwaukee, and these are the 7 teams. Golden State is at 7 on my list. Golden State gonna ride the hype train of Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry. Their defense has been amazing. Offensively, they shoot threes and they generate twos. Golden State's a very good team. I think they're the 7th best team in the NBA right now. I don't know if they'll beat Houston though. They're just the most. They have the highest ceiling and the lowest floor as a team. There's just so many different ways the Warriors season could go. But I put my confidence in Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry above most players, and it's one of the best duos in the league. I'm not gonna doubt them. Every time they get doubted, they prove everyone wrong. I don't want to be wrong. So I'm going to put Golden State at 7. And I know Golden State could go home first round, but Golden State could also win a championship as a 7th seed. That's how ridiculous this team is. So everything we know about the Warriors, everything we've seen with the Warriors, it's whatever, because the Warriors at the end of the day are one of the scariest teams. And they're one of the best teams in the league, and they're the 7th best team heading into playoffs that start tomorrow, since it's Friday when this video will be posted. Yeah. And then right ahead of them, I got the Los Angeles Clippers. Listen, the Clippers got they're the deepest team in the league, if you ask me. Maybe outside of OKC. OKC is pretty deep. So is Cleveland. But LA, they're at worst the third deepest team in the league. They got great two-way players. They got players that can play at high level paces, high speed, I should say. And they got players that play at a slow pace. That's a perfect recipe for success. All right. This team is so good. They have Kawhi Leonard and James Harden playing in their primes right now. James Harden in the playoffs, suspect. But Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs, you get a healthy run of Kawhi. League hasn't been able to stop healthy Kawhi in a long, long, long time. So just remember that. So when you look at the Clippers, they're pretty easily the sixth best team. They have size, they have depth, they have shooting, they have scoring, they have playmaking, they have everything you want from a team. They just don't have a true second option to Kawhi. Actually, they don't have reliable superstars. That's the only thing that's holding the Clippers back from being in a higher tier and being in the top 5. At 5, I have the Indiana Pacers. Indiana Pacers don't have a top 10 player, but Tyrese Halliburton's ability to get the team running and gunning and just making the team better top to bottom is very crucial. And Pascal Siakam in the playoffs has been very, very, very good, especially last season. Siakam could go out and score 35 a night in a playoff series, and it wouldn't surprise anyone. Siakam's a very good basketball player, right? It's that simple. You got Siakam, you got Halliburton, you got a deep team that can shoot the three. And although they're not the greatest defensive team, when it comes down to it, they get after it. We saw this last year. They can play defense when they're solely locked in and playing basketball. They're playing basketball right now. Indiana's been really good in the year 2025. To end 2024, at the beginning of this season, they were suspect. Right now, they're playing very good basketball. And I think they're the third best team in the Eastern Conference easily. I think they could pull off an upset against Cleveland. Don't even ask me about Boston because I'm not going to go there with Boston because, well, you'll hear what I got to say about Boston very soon. But Indiana is a very good basketball team. They're the fifth best basketball team in the NBA right now. And it's because they're a team, they have reliable players, and they know how to play together since they got amazing chemistry on both ends. So I'm very high on the Indiana Pacers, higher than I probably should be. But you know what? I got confidence in the team. Coming in at 4, though, Los Angeles Lakers. Don't even need to say much. Luka Doncic, LeBron James, small ball lineup, great schemes ran by JJ Redick. Their offense is going to be unstoppable. By the way, Austin Reeves is averaging 20 points a game this year. Austin Reeves is going to be guarded by the team's third best defender. Yeah, it's quiet. The Lakers are a very good basketball team. All right. I don't foresee many teams being able to beat them or slow them down offensively. Now, you can exploit LA defensively. That's why they're at 4 and not in the top 3, because we all know who the top 3 are. It's the 3 best teams from the season. So, yeah, LA just missed the cut there, but I do think I have so much trust in LA because of their superstars that it really makes it impossible for me to put them any lower than 4. But Cleveland Cavaliers, they have been the best team in the East all year. They're the third best team in my eyes heading into the playoffs because Cleveland's offense, I mean, it's unstoppable right now. They're running, they're gunning, they got chemistry, they got schemes, they know how to play through players. All the points per game from Donovan Mitchell has went down, but the team's offense has gotten better. Cleveland's depth is super underrated. They got 2 6-man of the year candidates coming off their bench right now. They got enough shooting and they got enough players that can get after it. I just don't know why we would doubt Cleveland, but then I remember their playoffs. And yeah, the past 2 years, they haven't helped you at all. If it weren't for the past 2 years, you'd probably be ranked number 1 or number 2, but we can't trust Cleveland until we see we can trust Cleveland. And because of the sample size we've seen them in the playoff setting, how badly they've folded under the bright lights, as they've been quoted, you got to put Cleveland at 3 here. And you could make an argument for LA at 3 over them, but if it came down to it, Cleveland is beating LA in a playoff series because LA can't guard. They won't be able to stop all the rim protection. I mean, all the big bodies in the paint, and they won't be able to stop the perimeter play of the 2 guards. It's that simple. So I'm going to take Cleveland at 3, and then OKC is number 2. Oklahoma City Thunder, if they had another player that we could rely on outside of SGA on offense, they would be number one. J-Dub, you got to prove it to me. Same reason Cleveland's not higher. It's because they're unproven. That's what SGA's co-stars are, unproven. SGA's proven in the playoffs. He just need a little help offensively, and I think he's got that help. But I'm not going to go against the number one team because the Boston Celtics, they're the best team on paper. We've seen them play. We know what to expect from Boston. Their defense and offense is too good. You're not going to be able to stop them. You just got to hope that they're playing how Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown played 2 years prior to last year, where they sell in the games, they dribble off their feet, can't dribble, they lose the ball, they take bad shots. That's the only way you're going to beat Boston. And if they're falling asleep on defense. Other than that, I don't know. But you better pray Boston gets hurt. And I don't like Boston. I'm not praying they get hurt. I just know Boston's going to win the title if they're fully healthy. And that's why they're the number one team. So, yeah, those are my final power rankings for the 2025 NBA season before playoffs. Obviously, it don't matter after that. So, yeah, this is kind of the last one for 2025, guys. It's been amazing. I'll see you all at the next video. If you want to check out me and my friends' podcast, we're both college students right now. We started a podcast. It's called The Box. Shout out to Monty Kamara. Got to get the box, you know. It's an entertaining podcast. It's unfiltered, uncensored, whatever you want to call it. Y'all would enjoy. We're working on getting it better. So every episode, we just dropped our first episode. So go check it out. The video's on the screen. And so is one of my videos. My bracket predictions and awards are on the screen as well. So yeah, subscribe to my podcast, subscribe to this channel if you haven't, liked the video, and yeah, y'all stay safe. Have a good one. Bye.